Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. I'm Louis Karpas. Nice to be with you on this Tuesday evening, and we're just a few days away. This weekend, it is the running of the Comrades Marathon, and nobody better to chat to than 30 times runner, 9 times winner, 8 times consecutive winner, Bruce Fordyce. Bruce, welcome to the program once again. I can't believe it's a year since we spoke.
Thanks, Louis. Yeah, I can't believe a year's gone by. There are a whole lot of things that happen every year, like clubs that I speak to and everything. And before I can blink, I'm talking to Rustenburg Marathon Club again. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it just goes past so quickly.
It's amazing. Before we talk about the race itself this year, let's just talk about briefly, without getting into any form of controversy. It's been a very difficult year, but one that all's well that ends well with regards to the Comrades Marathon Association.
Yes, yeah. I mean, last year, it was really last year that we had our sort of upheaval, but now everything is going very well, and I'm delighted with the progress and with the new committee.
Looking ahead to the race coming up at the week, change of finish, a little bit longer than normal, but I guess the Comrades is the Comrades.
Well, the Comrades changes its distance every single year, so that's one of the things we've got used to over the years because of roadworks, because of a different start or finish venue. So the history of the Comrades is that it's never the same length, actually. And so we shouldn't really talk about Comrades records. We should talk about Comrades best times because of, the huge variation in distances.
Are you amazed at the times that the runners are running these years?
Nope, it's still the same sort of pace per K as we ran. As Alan Robb was quick to point out to me the other day, they're not running any faster than we ran. They're just running shorter courses at the moment. So it looks faster, but I have to compromise that by saying, no, I am amazed at how fast Gerda Steyn is running. But the men are more or less running the same as we ran.
Yeah, I was going to get on to Gerda. Of course, we'll talk about participants. She's a freak of nature, almost, the way she runs these ultra marathons. She's just quite incredible, isn't she?
Well, I wouldn't call her a freak. You know what happened was that Frith van der Merwe in 1989 showed women where women's running should be by running under 6 hours for the first time, a woman under 6 hours. So she kind of was the pathfinder and she said, ladies, this is where we should be, and not satisfied with slower substandard performances. And I think that Gerda's really picked up that baton and carried on going. And of course, she's even faster than Frith, but she's just showing where women's running should be. And she's a wonderful, wonderful asset to the race. I mean, obviously, her bubbly personality, her enthusiasm for the race, the fact that she seems to really love Comrades, and particularly she loves her spectators. She loves her fan base. So she's great for the race, but she's really progressing from where Frith started.
Do you see a continuation with ladies running, following in her footsteps, or is she just such a complete class above everybody else?
No, I mean, there might be a bit of a hiatus. I mean, I don't know what Gerda's plans are about retiring. She doesn't look like she's about to do that anytime soon, but I think there might be a slight pause or whatever. But I think now that's where the barrier is. That's where the times are. So that's what you have to do. So the women who want to follow in Gerda's footsteps are going to have to run as fast as Gerda in the future.
Let's talk about the men. We spoke to Pete the other day in his preparations and whatever. He did have a bit of a difficult end to last year with a bit of issues with regards to no clean drinking water in Kenya and so on and so forth. Would you say he's the favourite again?
I'd say he is the favourite, though. Tete Jajani has won the last 2 down runs. And this is a down run. And Tete, I've heard, is really champing at the bit and is furious about what happened to him last year. So it's going, the men's race, whereas Gerda stands head and shoulders clear in the ladies' race, the men's race is far more open. And we haven't even discussed, there will be somebody that none of us are talking about who's going to pop into that top 5.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because, I mean, I looked when I spoke to Pitt about the Nedbank Running Club and the quality of the runners in that group. And we spoke about Tete and we spoke about Pitt, but there are so many great runners, not just in the Nedbank Running Club, but in other running clubs as well. Yeah. And we've always got that one guy that does the first 30 Ks way out in front of everybody else. But we seem to have had, over the last couple of years, a favorite or a semi-favorite come through and win the race.
Yes, yeah, I think you have to have a CV. You've got to have a little, you have to have some kind of record. So for a complete unknown to win the race, that would be extraordinary. but there could be a complete unknown who makes the top 5, so that they're not an unknown next year. And I'm going to refer to myself. That was me in 1979 when I got to the top of Polly Short's lying third. The organizers had to ask me what my name was because they had no idea who I was. And my club mates knew that I was very fit, but nobody else did. And I landed up finishing third that year, I would say, as a complete unknown. After that, of course, I was a marked man. But there'll be somebody like that this year. But yeah, no, we're not going to get a winner who's just completely unknown to everybody.
Yeah, they've only or never forgotten your name since that moment. What does it take, Bruce, to win a race like this?
Well, first of all, it takes very careful selection of your parents. It's genetic. You have to have the right genes. And then it takes, I think it takes patience in that to produce the Comrades winner generally takes a bit of time, a bit like producing a fine wine. You've got to slowly mature, become more experienced, understand what's going on, understand again that the race is a very different beast each time when it goes up and down. And so you go through a learning curve. I would say a winner is produced over kind of 3 to 5 years. And then a lot of incredibly hard training, but also sensible training. And then you have to be a great artist. You've got to know how to paint your picture on race day and run that race. It's not a science. The running of the race is not a science. It is an art. And you have to know exactly how to cope with the weather conditions, the opposition, the course, and then put yourself in a position to win it.
I mean, they call it the ultimate human race. I guess there comes a time in the race where you really need to dig deep and get something within you to get over that finish line, whether you are running it as a winner or whether you're trying to beat the gun at the end.
Yes, I think for runners this year, it's going to be Pinetown. Somewhere in Pinetown, you ask yourself a million questions, and obviously children might listen, so I won't put the bad language in, but you question your sanity with a lot of bad language, and then you just get on with it and finish. You know, there are low patches for everybody, including the best runners.
I read a wonderful article that you wrote recently with regards to from the park run to the Comrades Marathon. Yes. Tell us a bit more. I mean, were you close to 500 park runs? Is that right?
I'm well over 500. I've done I think this Saturday I will do North Beach Park Run in Durban because it's Comrades, and it will be number 577. But I'm nowhere near. I'm nowhere near having done the most park runs in South Africa. We have people of over 600 park runs now. Yeah, it's incredibly positive addiction, and we have produced a group that are known as the hashtag Park Run to Comrades group. We even have an extraordinary group called the hashtag Park Run to Comrades in a Year group. And then we have the group of which I'm part, which is hashtag Comrades to Park Run. So when we've decided we've had enough of 90, we get a lot of pleasure out of running 5Ks every Saturday.
Yeah, so sanity prevailed that those 90-kilometer races are a bit long for the knees.
Yeah.
Is it, Bruce, I mean, it clearly is possible, but for somebody who's listening to us this evening and has never run even more than around the block and kicked the block under the bed, it's almost inconceivable to think that you can start off by running a 5-kilometer park run and in a year run a 90-kilometer Comrades Marathon.
Yes, it seems extraordinary, but it's been done. I mean, I've written a very successful book, Louis, in which I discuss my first Comrades and how I trained for that, which has done extraordinarily well with novices because it's sane training. And so there was no park run when I started running in June 1976, but I went from not being a runner to finishing Comrades a year later. So my very first training run in preparation for Comrades was 10 minutes around the Wits rugby fields. I ran for 10 minutes around the Wits rugby fields, and a year later I ran Comrades. Obviously, I'm genetically gifted from that point of view, so the improvement came very rapidly once I started running. But it's more than possible to go from being a couch potato to a Comrades finisher in a year.
And I guess your story, Gerda Sains, is very similar. I mean, she also didn't run much and then joined a running club to meet friends in Dubai, and look at her now.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't even know what heights she's still going to scale, so we have no idea what lies ahead, except I think quite a lot of success.
Tell us a little bit about the difference between running an ultramarathon and running a marathon, because I think a lot of South Africans see her talent in ultramarathons and think, oh, well, she can go and win gold at the Olympics and the marathon. What is the difference between the two?
She can't. So I never want to put a barrier in front of someone, but she simply cannot. Because the marathon in the Olympics or at a World Champs, or if it's a New York or a Boston or something like that, is flat and fast and designed to be for speedsters. And so your ability to run fast, and it's 42 kilometers, your ability to run fast over 42 kilometers depends on your ability to run 5,000 meters or 10,000 meters very fast. And Gerda is an excellent standard marathon runner, but she is not an Olympic gold medalist. Her distance is Comrades Marathon with brutal hills, 90 Ks. That is her speciality. So it's a little bit like asking a 1,500 meter runner to beat a Akani Simbini over 100 meters. A 1,500 meter runner, top class, will run a very nice 100 meters, but you got no chance against Akani. That's his distance, and it's fast, it's flat out, and it's a sprint. And so that's the problem for Gerda. And I think it's not a problem because it guides her directly to where she should be, which is at Comrades. The fact is she is an Olympian. She has run at 2 Olympic Games. She's made the top 20 in the Olympic Games, which is outstanding. And I'm very jealous of something that Gerda has. She has an Olympic number with those 5 magic rings underneath it. And no one can take that away from her. But she is not going to win the gold medal at the Olympics. And Gerda will be the first to say that.
You're listening to the edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. We'll have more for you after these. Hi, I'm Louis Karpas. Join me on the next edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room when we chat to Selvin Davids and Philip Steyman from the Blitzbokke, the world champions. We'll be chatting to them about their performance and what's to come. That's Sevens Rugby. Selvin Davids and Philip Steyman on the next edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. There must be no better feeling in sport than running into a stadium, in fact, in Comrades holding that rose and in other events and getting the adulation of the crowd. How different do you think it's going to be this year, not running into a stadium and finishing on the road?
I think it might be quite exciting, Louis. I think, it's going to be more like the finish of I've done most of the big city marathons, the finish of a London, running down the Mall with Buckingham Palace in the background, or running into Central Park and running that last road finish of the New York Marathon, or Boston, where you run down Boylston Drive, the last 800 meters. It finishes in the road. But on both sides of you are going to be packed grandstands with screaming, cheering spectators. And it's going to end with just the same feeling, I think, if not more exciting, as you run that last 400 meters with thousands of spectators cheering you on. And I look forward to the new finish venue, and let's see what it's like.
When we look at the qualifying for this year's race, there was a little bit of a time adjustment to what qualifying times are, and there's a slight time adjustment to your finishing times in the race. I mean, I guess runners mustn't think, there's a bit more time, we can take it a little bit easier.
No, you can't take it easier. Though, of course, my abiding motto for the Comrades Marathon, and I say it ad nauseum, is the way you run the race is that you start like a coward and you finish like a hero. So you start slowly, full of circumspections, full of caution, and you harbor your resources as much as you can for as long as you can. And then you can start to spend the energy. You basically, when you get into Bertha's Hill Village and you start dropping down there, the down run starts. That's when you can start going a bit faster after you've run 60 kilometers. But you have to hold yourself back for the first 60.
You heading towards the number 70 in terms of age. A couple of weeks ago, we spoke to Louis Massain. Tell us a bit about what you think of a guy like him who has run so many races, marathons, ultra marathons, and is just continually going on and on and on. It's an incredible achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely amazing because remember, when you run, as he has, 49 Comrades, or Barry Holland, 49 Comrades, that's not done in isolation. You've also done, 42 Oceans and 200 standard marathons and et cetera, et cetera. That's all the preparation for Comrades. I think, I'm going to be very nervous for Louis. I hope he makes it. I think it's going to be close because, you see, the thing is, Louis, there are 2 types of veteran marathon runners. They're the ones who started running when they were 60. And somebody who started running when he was sick, or she was 60 and has been running for 10 years will absolutely thump Louis, because Louis is the other type of veteran. And that's someone who stood in the boxing ring hundreds of times. And he's now, to use the right expression, I think punch drunk. The legs are tired, the knees are worn. he goes back 50 years of running. And so he has to try and get himself through to the finish. In those 12 hours, I think he'll make it, but it's going to be very close.
I guess he would be able to go back in many, many years of experience when he gets to that dark moment in the race and look back at 49 runs and go, wow, I did it once before when I had this issue or that issue and I still made it.
And he'll use, the one thing Louis will have is what's known as the experience button, which you can push. And then there's also the memory lever, which you can pull. those two help you to get you through. And then, of course, he'll be surrounded by lots of runners, willing him on and hoping to get him there. But it will be close. He's not going to do it by an hour.
No, I doubt that. So you have been, as you say, talking to lots of running clubs and whatever. What are you telling people when you do your talks leading up to the race?
So it depends what time of the year. So if it's earlier in the year, like sort of January till April, I tell them how to train for the race and what to do in preparation and how to get themselves ready. If it's, as I have been speaking to about 4 or 5 different clubs this last week, it's how to run the race. It's what lies ahead. What are you going to meet out there? Which are the hills that you're going to run up and which are the hills that you're going to have to battle along? And it's more about the tactics then, because there's no more, there's literally this last week, there's been no more training to do.
And then, of course, there's the expo, which there wasn't in your day when you were running it. A wonderful experience for everybody to go along and have a look.
Yes, well, there was an expo for, sort of a smaller expo, but not in my first couple of years. It's a fantastic event to visit, but it's an event that you need to visit, go in, get your number, get whatever you need, whatever energy things you need to buy or whatever it is you need to get, and then you get out of there. Because otherwise you end up walking the Comrades Marathon 2 days before the Comrades Marathon, because you spend 3 hours in there going from one stand to another. And that before you know it, you've been on your feet for 3 hours. You need to be in your hotel room, your B&B, with your feet up, watching television and relaxing. You've got a 90K race ahead of you.
The race is obviously dominated by runners, but it's made so special by spectators. For those people who are listening who have not any intention of running it, but going out to watch it, best vantage points, what would you say?
Oh, wow. Early on, Camperdown, you always have to look at the point of view of parking. Camperdown, Drummond Village at halfway, but you need to park far away from the village so that you can get out of there afterwards. Otherwise, your decaying corpse will be found a year later, still trapped in your car. And then probably Pinetown. But otherwise, the finish is too wonderful. I remember, I think it's Carla Molinaro, who's finished 3rd and 4th in Comrades. She told me that a few years ago, I think she'd finished in the top 10, and she sat down in the stands just to watch the runners because she was tired. And 4 hours later, she was still sitting there, because the human drama is so intense and so exciting that you cannot tear yourself away. It's watching ordinary human beings, meeting this incredible challenge and getting themselves through and beating the common enemy, because apart from the leading runners, the common enemy is the clock. Yeah. And the clock is relentless. It ticks on at exactly the same pace, and that's what you've got to beat.
Do you think we'll perhaps see a repeat of the 20-odd seconds between first and second on the last down run? Do you think Pitt's got a little bit of memory in the back of his brain if he comes into that last kilometre just behind whoever it might be?
I think it was even closer. I think it was 3 seconds. It was 3 seconds, something like that at the end. But maybe I'm wrong. But, obviously the closest Comrades of all time was the 1967 down run where Marnie couldn't beat Tommy Malone by 1 second. It's always close on the down run, because the down run is hard to open up gaps, because everybody's legs are equally battered by all the steep descents they've had to go down. And so it's hard to get your legs to go away. So it will be close, whatever. I would say that's probably the single biggest difference between my time, so to speak, and now. There are more people crammed together. They may not be overall that much faster, but you're going to get 10 runners in 5 minutes, whereas in my day, 1978, Alan Robb won by 20 minutes. 1983, I won by 15 minutes. So that's not going to happen anymore. The runners will be close, so it'll be exciting racing.
Bruce, I'm sure we'll hear you on the television. It's always an unbelievable spectacle. It's one that even if you're not a road runner or even have ever attempted to run on the road, you always end up watching. It's brilliant to chat to you, and all the best for the weekend, and let's hope the best man and the best woman win.
Yes, thanks. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful day. And I just highly recommend to everybody, please watch, even if you're not a runner. You will just love the human drama.
It certainly is. That's tonight's edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. Our special guest, Bruce Fordyce. He knows all about the Comrades Marathon. 8 consecutive wins, 9 wins in total. 30 times he's run the race, 570 park runs. I don't think I've had that many hot breakfasts. Be nice to each other until next time. Bye for now.